Now I am going to explain about case 2, that is symmetrical impulse response for n is even. So last class we discussed about symmetrical impulse response when n is odd. So n is equal to 7. So this is for even. You have to consider for n is equal to 6. Okay. So first take the Fourier transform of impulse response. H of e power j omega is equal to summation n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 h of n e power minus j omega n. Okay. So let us consider n is equal to 6. So in terms of n, how to write in terms of n? N is equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1. So n is equal to 6 means 6 by 2 minus 1. Okay. H of n e power minus j omega n plus summation n by 2. So n is 6. 6 by 2 means 3. N minus 1. Okay. 6 minus 1, 5. H of n e power minus j omega. Let n is equal to n minus 1 minus n. In that, m is equal to n minus 1 minus n. Now let us take n is equal to, so in order to equate these two limits, you have to consider n is equal to n by 2. Then substitute n by 2 in this equation. Okay, n minus 1 minus n by 2. So you are getting n minus 2 by 2. So in the same way, next limit is n minus 1. N is equal to n minus 1. Substitute m is equal to n minus 1 minus, in place of n, substitute n minus 1. N minus 1 is equal to 0. Now change the limits. Summation n is equal to 0 to n minus 2 by 2. So n by 2 minus 1, or you can write it as n minus 2 by 2. H of n e power minus j omega. Now you can change the limits m. M is equal to 0 to n minus 2 by 2. So these limits are changed because you are substituted here. So you get the limits as 0 to n minus 2 by 2. Okay. So in place of n, substitute n minus 1 minus n. So these limits are for m. M is equal to 0 to n minus 2 by 2. So n value is what? So n is equal to n minus 1 by minus n into e power minus j omega n. Okay. So now you have to write this as same into, okay, now you can change the limits. You can change m to n. Okay, m to n. Now here is the limits are n is equal to 0 to n minus 2 by n. Now here also you have to change from m to n. Here also you have to change from m to n. Okay, for symmetrical impulse response, h of n is equal to what? H of n minus 1 minus n. Okay, so now in this, so n is equal to 0 to n minus 2 by 2 h of n e power minus j omega n plus. So this n minus 1 minus n, you have to write it as h of n here. Okay, h of n e power minus j omega n minus 1 minus n. Okay, so in these two equations, common e power minus j omega n minus 1. Okay, so common cheste you can get summation n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 h of n into this term. If you multiply these two, you are getting e power minus j omega n. Okay, plus summation n is equal to 0 to n minus 2 h of n. If you multiply these two, you are getting e power minus j omega n minus 1 minus n. Okay, now so in these two equations, summation h of n, both are common. You have to common that equation. Okay, so remaining terms are e power j omega n minus 1 by 2 minus n, e power minus j omega n minus 1 by 2 minus n. Okay, so this is in the form of cos term. Okay, you can write it as 2 cos of n minus 1 by 2 minus n. Now 2 cos omega n minus 1 by 2 minus n. So now 2 h of n cos omega into, so n minus 1 by 2 you have to write it as n by 2 minus 1 by 2 minus n. Let n by 2 minus n is equal to p. N by 2 minus n is equal to p. Then n is equal to what? N by 2 minus p. Now you have to substitute the limits. N is equal to 0. Okay. Then what is the p limits? P is equal to n by 2. If you substitute here the value is 0, n is equal to 0, then p is equal to n by 2. So in the same way, the next limit is n minus 2 by 2. N is equal to n minus 2 by 2. P is equal to n by 2 minus n value is what? N minus 2 by 2 is equal to 1. Okay, now substitute the limits here. E power minus j omega n minus 1 by 2 summation. What are the p limits? P is equal to 1 to n by 2. 1 to n by 2. 2h n by 2. So here n is what? N is equal to n by 2 minus p cos omega. So n by 2 minus n is nothing but what? P. P minus 1 by 2. Okay. Now e power minus j omega n minus 1 by 2 summation. Now you have to change p to n. N is equal to 1 to n by 2 minus 1 to h of n by 2 by n by 2 minus n cos omega of n minus 1 by 2. Now here, so this equation you have to keep as b of n. For simplification, you have to write b of n is equal to 2h of n by 2 minus n. Now, h of e power j omega is equal to e power minus j omega n minus 1 into summation n is equal to 1 to n by 2. Substitute b of n here. So b of n is nothing but what? This is b of n. So you have to write it as b of n cos of omega of n minus 1 by 2. Okay. So now h of e power j omega is equal to, this is e power minus j omega n minus 1 by 2, and this term you have to write it as h bar of e power j omega. Now complete h of e power j omega is what? The magnitude response and phase response. H bar of e power j omega into e power j theta of omega. Here theta of omega. Okay, here theta of omega is nothing but minus alpha of omega. Minus of, so here in place of alpha, what is the value? Theta of omega is nothing but minus alpha of omega. If you remove omega, what is the alpha value? N minus 1 by 2 into omega. So minus minus get cancelled. Alpha is equal to what? N minus 1 by 2. So this is the frequency response of symmetrical impulse response when n is even. Okay, h bar of e power j omega is nothing but impulse response of for n is even. Okay.